Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel today. I've got a very special video with all of you. Please welcome Alaina Wis, who you may know as Zhu Yuan from our favorite game, Zenless Zone Zero.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for hopping on today. Really appreciate your time and everything.
Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah, it's great to be here. I checked out your video on Zhu Yuan and I learned some things and I was like, "Oh, I've been doing things wrong, so thank you."
glad you enjoyed it and found some help out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zhu Yuan was in the closed beta and I played her there and really enjoyed her, and I was like, who is this voice? So then I couldn't figure that out yet until obviously it was released.
Right. Right.
But yeah, for anybody who may not know, would you please introduce yourself and a
Yeah.
little bit of your background?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so hi, I'm Alaina Wis. I'm a voice actor, screen actor, stage actor, born and raised in Chicago, still living in Chicago. I love it here. And yeah, my background is in theater originally. I went to the University of the Arts, which is no more, sadly. They suddenly and tragically closed with like a week's notice this year. So, but I went to school for musical theater, and my plan was to do musical theater full time. After graduation, I did that for a while, and I also started to dabble in voiceover, and I ended up booking a gig with Hong Kong Disneyland and going abroad it ended up being 2 years. And I had a great time out there and got to challenge myself and travel a lot and really enjoyed it. I was working as a singer for the Disney company, so that was really fun. And came back and decided I wanted to continue being a full-time performer and start to really find a way to sustain myself on performing, because I had just done that with Disney and I was hoping that I could make that possible back at home. So I really started to take voiceover more seriously and invest in training and, proper demos and getting more involved in the community. And after about a year and a half, I was able to sustain myself on just voiceover income, and then able to kind of be doing theater and voiceover at the same time. So I wasn't doing 4 or 5 other side jobs. I was able to do, VO and theater. And then COVID happened and there was no theater. So I was glad that I already had kind of those steps in place to be able to still work from home as an actor. And that's where my focus shifted to for basically from 2020 to now. I've mostly been doing voice acting, and then I ended up taking some more classes and expanding my skill set to be ready for on-camera work. I've done some of that. I did Chicago Med this year, but most of my marbles are in the voice acting bucket, and I love it. I love the work-life balance that it brings, and working in games is my absolute favorite thing. So,
Dude, that's amazing. It sounds like you definitely started with that degree, and that's kind of the more theatrical kind of on stage and musical theater, you said. I think let's start by raising awareness for the current SAG-AFTRA strike and against the for the protections against AI. And for anybody unsure out there, there's tons and plenty of resources from SAG and voice actors alike for addressing everything that's at stake. And for people who may not know, Alaina, what's the significance of this strike, and how can us as fans and communities help out?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, there are some really clear guidelines on SAG's website. I believe the URL is sagaftra.org/video game strike. And so for anybody listening, watching, and wondering, how does this affect me? Whether you're an actor or a streamer or a video game consumer, there are some really great resources and guidelines on there, straight from the horse's mouth, straight from SAG, how you can help. And one of the things that they've encouraged us to do is to use streaming and YouTube and other platforms like that to raise awareness about what is at stake. And so this isn't something I wanted to shy away from. We are, as a collective actor body, union, non-union, FICOR, which is somewhere in the middle, we are all fighting this big, unstoppable AI train, and technology is outpacing the regulations that we have around it. And so what voice actors are primarily worried about with this strike and with these negotiations is the unauthorized cloning and manipulation of our voices, and specifically us replacing ourselves, like our digital clones replacing our daily craft and our daily artistry. And so the members of the negotiating committee are going head to head with these big companies, and those companies are listed on SAG's website if people are curious which ones are struck, because not every company is struck and not every project is struck. It's very complicated, but that's why I keep pointing people back to that page. And they're basically asking these companies for very reasonable things, which is AI protections. Let us know if you want to use our voice in this capacity, pay us fairly, and make sure that we maintain control over how that's used. And some of these companies are refusing to do that. So that is why things came to a head, and now we're on strike. But as I said, there's a ton of confusion. Things are changing every day, and the best thing to do when in doubt, if you see something that you're not sure people are allowed to be posting about, always refer back to the guidelines, and you'll see what SAG advises on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an important deal that we all stand in solidarity for all of you, but also for all of us who enjoy all of your performances and your guys' love for the game, our love for the game. So we definitely want to do whatever we can. And I'll put all of those links and everything in the description below, with direct to like the FAQ on SAG-AFTRA's website and pages you were discussing as well. But that's really important. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's go a little bit different here. And of course, we all love Zhu Yuan, total fan favorite for the Zenless community. But what are some of the other works, the roles that you've personally really enjoyed?
Yeah. So I mentioned that I have a background in musical theater. I think probably one of my favorite roles that I ever played was Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, the musical. It was so much fun. It was such a dream role. And man, she's just such a firecracker. And it's one of those marathons of a show where you basically, once you come on stage, you don't leave unless you are changing clothes and coming right back on stage. So it was really a test of mettle for an actor. And I'm really fortunate that I got to do that.
That's fantastic. I really did love that movie when I watched it the first time. Haven't seen it too much since then, but I would love to see it like on theater like that. That sounds like it'd be incredible.
Yeah. I actually think that it's one of those musicals that improves upon the movie that it's based on. I think that it's such an over-the-top story, and she just kind of like lives in her own world, that using musical storytelling only amplifies, sort of Elle's world and Elle's story.
It's awesome to see like the growth of Elle through the movie as well, and obviously through the theater, where where everyone kind of takes her for granted and such, and then kind of, okay, maybe we need to start taking her seriously towards the end of the movie, that big court scene and everything.
That's why I have this little "What would Elle Woods do" plaque on my desk every single day. Whenever I'm not sure what to do what Elle would do.
That's great. So we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. What kind of led you down the path of you wanting to pursue voice acting, and acting in general, both on camera, stage, musical theater? Was there kind of like part of your childhood or some kind of moment that you were just like, oh, this would be so amazing, so cool?
Yeah, I guess I always had it sort of in me because I'm the child of two music educators. And so, where other kids were getting put into sports really young, I was getting put into piano lessons and gymnastics and, church musicals and things like that. And so it just sort of started really young for me. And come to think of it, it's really the only thing that like I really chose to do that my parents didn't expressly sign me up for. Like I was the first one to say I want to be in a musical. And it's the thing I stuck with because I really enjoyed I enjoyed singing and I enjoyed acting, but I enjoyed them both more together. And so I chose musical theater like as my initial career path and chose the school that I chose because I couldn't imagine anything being more fun than doing that every day for the rest of my life. And it was a lot of fun. I actually didn't even know voice acting was an option. It wasn't something that we covered in theater school. I didn't grow up in LA, and I think we had one voiceover class, but the priority went to acting majors for that class. And so I was never able to get in. And so when I graduated, I honestly had a friend just mention to me one time, like, have you ever thought about voice acting? And I was like, no, I can't believe I never thought about that. And it just sort of the rest is history from there, I guess. But yeah, I also grew up playing tons of video games and loving that. And that was sort of a bonding activity for me and my dad. And we would like pass the controller back and forth. And like, I'm too frustrated. You take it and you do this battle or whatever. And so, I think maybe there was a seed planted specifically maybe in high school or college when I started playing like Uncharted and the Tomb Raider remakes. And certainly growing up playing Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that, I was like, man, it would be cool to be in these one day, but I never really thought about how that comes to be. So, yeah, I think there were seeds planted, but I think it just took time to find the right path.
You're absolutely. That video game, it's gotta be surreal, right? To like, you're just playing a game now. Like if you're playing Zenless or something, you're like, wait a minute. I've heard that voice before. Wait a second. That's my voice.
Yeah, it is a little funny and weird. And there are certain lines that like, I know the way I say something when I'm being judgmental or some other type of way. So, like, there's certain lines that Zhu Yuan says that I register as me being judgmental. And so then I'm like, oh, like, I didn't mean to deliver it that way, but I have such, like, an attuned ear for my own tone of voice that when I hear her, like, in the Hollow Zero saying, like, I trust your judgment, like, I know that underneath that is, like, not sure about that choice. But other people might not know that because it's something you only know when it's your own voice coming out, and it's super weird it's just very meta. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. That Hollow Zero, that you mentioned, it's pretty funny because Hollow Zero is kind of interesting, where like all of the traps and everything that are there, and then you'll just like run into one of the HP traps or something, right? Lose HP, yeah. And then Zhu Yuan just says, "I trust your judgment." It's like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, please, I didn't mean to.
She's like, oh, like, wouldn't have done that. Yeah, exactly. I think she also does it when you pick one of the Rosonia, too, and then that makes more sense, but it's like you can just never please her. Like, she's always like, I would have had a better idea. So.
Yeah, maybe that wasn't the best choice. I trust you anyway, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like that. I don't know if other people receive it that way, but me knowing how I would say that, I feel like it does come off judgy.
I love all the material we're getting for Zhu Yuan still right now too. So it's like we see so many different sides of her. Like the art print you just posted on Twitter I saw today.
Yeah.
Where she's taking her break and texting on her phone.
Yeah. I think I've seen other actors do this thing where they'll have like two really badass combat focused prints, and then they'll have one that's like more personality focused and maybe like kind of funny. But Zhu Yuan is so serious. Like, she's so like, she doesn't take breaks. And without spoiling anything for folks who haven't caught up on everything that's out there yet, like, she really doesn't want to take time off. She doesn't want to do it. But I wanted to like show a side of her that, maybe builds on some of the lore that's been released in her MV that was released when her banner first was being teased. There's this great movie of her just like sitting on her couch, texting her parents, and they're like, when are we going to see you again? She's like, I can't, I have work. And so I sort of wanted to iterate on that and show that, she really hates taking breaks, but if she were to take a break for 5 seconds, she'd probably be texting her mom and saying, yeah, I'll bring something home for dinner.
That's great. I definitely need to have somewhere to put it. Not sure where yet, but I will definitely be ordering a print there. I would definitely want to do that. Maybe like right over here, right on this one.
Amazing. Yeah. I think it would look great right there.
Yeah, I think so. I have Zhu Yuan just sitting here. Then she can really judge me when I make bad choices.
Right. Exactly. She's like, hey, I wouldn't pick that one.
Are you sure about that choice? You talk about like the video games and stuff like that. Saw on your website and everything that you're also a musician, musical theater and stuff. See a little guitar back there. Specifically, how did that musical training, how did that kind of really help drive your career, with musical theater? Any experiences from learning music with all of those things you discussed that really helped push your career that way?
Well, I mean, I couldn't have gotten to where I am if I wasn't if I had, so let me put it this way. There is no BFA program or college degree program in the United States for formal accredited training in voice acting. So let's say I was 17 years old and I had the clarity that I want to be a voice actor one day, but I want to go to college. There's no way to do that. I would have had to pick something related that I could translate over, like an acting program or like a musical theater program. So, I've gone through these existential crises before, thinking like, oh no, I'm not doing the original thing I said I was going to do. I was going to do musical theater specifically. But now I've come to a settled place where I'm realizing, actually, all of that training and learning how to act through song becomes very valuable in voice acting when you don't have your face and your entire body to tell a story. You have to imbue it entirely in your voice. And so I really think having a musical ear is helpful in that case. And it's also helpful sometimes when you're just not getting it and the director is like, okay, listen, I'm just going to give you a line reading. I'm going to say it exactly the way that I want it to be said. And if you have musicality in your head, you can spit it right back at them. So I definitely just think it's all connected,
That's kind of really neat to think about. Obviously, a big part of music is like hearing, if you're like in an ensemble of some sort of band or something, or if you're choir, or anything like else, being able to listen to the other performers and everything. It is kind of interesting how that translates, though, to like voice acting, like with your voice direction example there. It's not really maybe not commonly quite thought of when people are starting to go into like voice acting and such.
Yeah. And there's times too when, it doesn't happen all the time, but there's times when folks say, hey, like, we have a game that actually requires singing. Do you have a singing demo, or can you sing this snippet for the audition or whatever? And so it's not that I'm not singing anymore. It does come up. Recently worked on, the forthcoming Bard's College expansion for Skyrim, which is like a high-end paid mod that's coming out. And that was entirely singing. And so that was like the true marriage of like the two things that I love most. And it was really cool to be able to like use that skill and remind myself that like, oh yeah, I did take the right path, even though I'm not doing the exact thing that I originally set out to do. So
I think we could touch on this voice acting a little bit more too. So obviously people watching may want to know as well, for anyone who wants to like start their voice acting journey, things of that in that nature, that realm, and acting in general, of course, what would be kind of like your beginner level to any kind of advice or tips that you have for these aspiring actors?
Yeah, take a class. Take a class. Classes are really relatively low stakes environments to see if you even really like this, and start where you're interested. Start by taking a class in something you are excited about and interested in. And don't worry about, can I get there actually in the future? Don't worry about it. Just see if you even like it. Because if you don't like that, you're not going to like all the other parts of it, like the invoicing and the building your booth and the marketing and the social media presence and the auditioning however many times a day. If you don't like the end product, which is like the playing and the having fun and the embodying the character, then you're probably not going to want to push through all the other harder, less glamorous parts. So that would be my advice, is like, I have a resources page we can also link for new folks, where I list some places that are great to look at for classes. And whether it's, you're interested in dubbing, or you're interested in network animation, or you're interested in video games, or whatever it is, or you're interested in going to vocal extremes and doing intense combat sounds and things like that, there is a class or a coach for everything. So that's where I would start, is like, just see if you like it. Take all the pressure away and see if you enjoy this.
That's perfect. And I know we'll link your VO tips page. I saw that on the website.
Yeah.
Down below in the in the description for anyone who wants to check that out as well. So obviously, like the passion and making sure that you really enjoy it as well, but taking the class and not really worrying about things down the line. Make sure you can walk before you can run, kind of sort of situation there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I see people all the time like worrying about things that are, in all likelihood, probably 10 years down the road. Don't worry about that stuff right now. If you're genuinely interested in e-learning and you love it, don't be worrying about, well, what happens when I book my first union role, and then can I still do e-learning? Do I have to convert it? Like, oh my goodness, just enjoy the moment. Like, if this is something you enjoy doing, do this, keep educating yourself on other things, and you can cross that bridge when you get to it.
I think let's pivot gears now. We'll go back to Zenless and communities in general here. Most recently with Zenless Zone Zero, how have all your experiences with fans been between all the different communities and plays and stage acting and all of that sort of stuff for you been? Anything that kind of sticks out? How have they all been?
Great. I mean, awesome. I'll start with Zenless specifically. Everybody has been so warm and welcoming and so supportive, and I wasn't prepared for it. I really didn't expect that. I went from having like 200 followers on Twitter to like over 2,000 in a very short amount of time, and there's a lot of pressure, feeling like there's a lot of eyes on me right now, but it also is like, I'm happy that this character is resonating with people because there's so much of me in her. So it feels very intertwined with my personality and who I am. So that feels really special and really lovely. And everybody has been really kind so far. So I'm grateful for that. And yeah, I really haven't had too many experiences like this before this. So it's been kind of transformative and unique in that way. The only thing that I can compare it to is when I worked at Disney, we would have interfacing with folks in person who were big fans of the Disney characters. So that was something a little bit different, I think, because I guess I can't say for sure if people are following me because they love Zhu Yuan or if they're following me because they like me. I'm not really sure. But in that environment, it was very much like there is a beloved history of these Disney characters, and we're just vessels for them. So there's almost like a reverence there for that. And it was a different type of fan interaction that wasn't as much based on celebrity, but it was more based on like carrying on a legacy that's been established for many, many years. So that's really the only other encounter that I've had with fans of big IP like this. But again, it was great, and I ended up forming friendships with a lot of those guys. And because I lived 8,000 miles away, those are the people that would take our photos and videos that I could send to my loved ones who couldn't obviously just hop, skip, and jump out to Hong Kong to see me. So yeah, I had a great relationship with a lot of the fans there as well.
That's awesome. And I think it's got to be because you poured so much love and care into Zhu Yuan that it's really resonating with us as the audience too. Your Twitter followers and people who enjoy the game. We see Zhu Yuan, the amount of care you put into her, how we're resonating with her, like you said. So she's just really relatable in some ways, as in that regard as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she really is. Absolutely.
I can't wait to see more of like we had the Twitter post today with she was tweeting and with with the art. A little bit I want to see more of that side of Zhu Yuan behind, like, obviously no spoilers or anything here.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the certain MVs or things that they've already released of her where she's trying to be on camera or something, like with,
oh my gosh,
with
yeah.
they
Poor
have
thing.
and then she actually goes on that mission in that MV, and she goes and saves the kid there. In that ending scene where the kid is just like the stars are aligning and everything there. It was just such a really cool moment to see from Zhu Yuan.
I really do love how they've woven vulnerability into this character, because it's really easy to just have a character who's generically a badass and a really good fighter and good at her job and whatever. But I think it is also clear that there's things she's not as confident in, and on-camera presence is not her strong point. She's very flustered whenever she has to do public speaking or she's in front of a camera. And so I love that the crew ends up following her to her mission to show how good she is and why she's qualified to be captain. And then I also love at the very end of that MV, she's horrified at her performance and the parts of it that they kept in. Like, it's really relatable and I think it's important too, because we all have people in our lives that we put on a pedestal and we think they're so perfect and they never make mistakes and they don't have flaws. But just, think of how they would cringe at themselves if they ever thought they did a bad job, and you'll understand that, like, truly nobody is perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Zhu Yuan with just so red at the end. There was like, what did I just watch?
Just like, it's so bad. I can't believe they aired this. How could they do this?
Yeah, so personally, I really want to see a lot more of that from that as well. So it's really cool to
Yeah.
see the entirety of Yuan and her character, and obviously your talented performance with her as well.
Thank you.
Let's shift gears again a little bit here. Go towards your website. Saw you had a mission statement on there.
hmm
The goal of creating more opportunity for marginalized communities. I thought it was just fantastic. How has your voice and talent impacted these communities, and in what ways?
Yeah. Well, I think we're in a really cool age right now where there's such an emphasis and a growing awareness of authentic casting. And so, there are lots of opportunities for us to audition throughout our week and throughout the year. And I think one very, very easy way for non-marginalized people to help out marginalized communities is if you get an audition that's not right for you, don't audition for it and maybe take it a step further and recommend somebody who would be a great fit. And so that's something I really try to do is make sure that my network is expansive and inclusive and make sure that, I have somebody that I can bring with me and or replace me for something that I'm not, I shouldn't have been sent in the first place. I love being able to bring people into projects. Like it's one of the best feelings in the world because I think as actors who are not also some other job title like casting directors, we don't get to do that a whole lot, but when we do, it feels like like I finally got to pay it forward. And so that's one example, I think, but there are many. I also like to amplify like the PGM VO list. And there are other resources too that I can send you. We can also put, I think, in the comments or in the caption. But there are like specific rosters / databases for marginalized folks that can act as a really great resource when casting does need something super specific. And so I want to make sure that folks know about those too.
Yeah, that's really phenomenal. Any of those resources, definitely put them in the description, in the comments, and everything, so everyone can check that out. That's really phenomenal, and it really kind of drives like almost like this family kind of feeling too. Would you say like that with like the acting community and everything in general, where it's just kind of like a big friendly unit, all working towards the same goal and helping each other out, things like that.
I definitely believe the best in people. I think more often than not, that is the case. I think we all do want an increase in opportunity, an increase in representation. I think most voice actors really are attuned to that and really understand that, especially ones who are really ingrained in the community and in social media. But not everybody has a presence there. And still, I think most voice actors that are in my community and that are close friends of mine really have an awareness of striving towards a common goal, whether it's with this strike or whether it's with authentic casting and representation. I do find that overall the culture is really positive and that people really are doing their best to be really diligent about things, and if something comes out that, someone had taken a job that they should not have, it almost immediately is like, whoa, that was a mistake. I should not have done that, rather than people doubling down. So I think that's a really good sign that we're trending in a good direction. Not to say there's still not a lot of work to be done.
It's very cool that we are heading in that direction, though, so we can be more inclusive and all of that as well. Especially like obviously not in nefarious ways like you were talking about. Where it's like, oh, okay, I messed up there. Let me see what I can do to do better for next time.
Right.
All right. Well, Alaina, I guess last thing is, where can we find and support you online with the websites and socials? Where can we find you at?
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter, which I guess is called X now. So I guess I actually don't know the URL. Let me check that before I spit that out on stream. Because I was just going to say twitter.com/Alaina Wis. But okay, so it is actually x.com/Alaina Wis. So I'm on X at x.com/Alaina Wis. My shop is, give me a second, because again, I don't want to say the wrong thing. My shop is shopalainawis.square.site, but also that link is in all of my bios, so you don't have to memorize that one. And I'm also on Instagram at Believe, BELLEIEVE. And no, I will not change it, even though no one can spell it, because I like it. But yeah, those are the places where I'm most active.
Perfect, thanks. And I'll put those in the description as well, with all of the socials and your links and your shop page. So we can all definitely go get a Zhu Yuan art piece right after this to hang on our wall right here for everybody to see.
Yes, thank you.
And I do want to do a reminder here that we can all stand together with talented voice actors, creative talent alike, to see them bring the games we love to life still. And as a community, we can collectively raise a general awareness so you all can continue doing what you love, but we can all enjoy what we love, and your careers not taken away from you by this moving train, as we called it earlier, of AI. And we'll reference back there to the SAG-AFTRA websites and the FAQ page. Is there anything else you want to discuss on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would like to say if you like seeing voice actors in games and it matters to you that humans bring these stories to life, stay informed on how you can support us and stay up to date on the latest guidance. And there's probably more that you can do than you think. As consumers, we have a lot of power. I have power too, as a consumer who buys video games, to put our money where our mouth is as well and show these companies, if they do decide to go that route, we don't want it. And I personally would like to continue doing what I love doing. And if other people feel that same way, let them know.
And I'll do my best as well to promote and just blow up the message when I can. We definitely, everybody watching this video and everything, we all want to stand in solidarity with all of you so we can enjoy your lovely performances and things, because there's no way you guys could ever get replaced by AI or anything like that. Like that should just be obvious. And once we teach the companies that, everybody will just be in a way better place.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, for sure.
But thank you very much again for joining the interview. I know we all as a community can really both appreciate you, your time, and of course, your performance as our beloved Zhu Yuan.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. And yeah, I'm so thrilled to be a part of this community, and I take the responsibility very seriously and want to continue contributing to this. I don't know how to finish this sentence, I guess. I'm glad that this character is resonating with people, and that just really warms my heart.
Like I said, we all definitely love Zhu Yuan and performance with her, and can like you said, we resonate with her really well. So, I guess thank you very much, and thank you everybody for watching. Please make sure you go follow and everything. Put them all in the description for Alaina here. And Alaina, thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and our best wishes to you.
Oh, thank you. You too, and thanks for watching.
All right, bye for now.